Welcome everybody to the Unpopped Review, movie reviews from a movie lover and not a movie critic. This week, today, I'm doing a new release kind of, even though it has been out for quite a while in theaters. Or it's not. It's actually on Blu-ray and DVD now. So, um, G.I. Joe Retaliation. Let's begin by talking about. First of all, I didn't watch the cartoons. I played with the toys, but I never was introduced to the cartoons. So as far as that goes, I have nothing to go on based on authenticity or whatever else it may be. I know a little bit about GI Joe, backstories and stuff like that, but only what I've read and what I've heard. I really don't know much other than that. That being said, I actually enjoyed the first one. When I played with my GI, like I said, I had the toys. When I played with my GI Joes, it was always over the top action, over the top. That's what I picture GI Joe. They're not just a military unit; they're over the top. And I thought GI Joe Retaliation. No, sorry, GI Joe Rise of Cobra, the first one, um, did that perfectly. That is the over the top kind of style I expected from GI Joe. Everything that I wanted was basically in the movie. The only downside was at the end when Cobra Commander and Destro get captured, um, which leads into the second movie, I guess. But I didn't like that one specific part. I thought they should have gotten away and began planning, building up Cobra, but they didn't even do that. So anyway, so that's the first one. Let's not talk about the first one. Let's talk about this one. Um, I did not like this one. The action, they toned down the action. It was much more, less gadgety, less over the top. It was much more militarized. It was very, it was almost like watching a movie about Marines. Maybe futuristic Marines. Maybe 10, 15 years in the future, or Navy SEALs maybe. But it just didn't. I didn't get that over the top feel. Even the last final battle scene, I really didn't get that over the top. These are GI Joes. I got kind of a feeling that there's one part where Dwayne Johnson's character drives a tank. That's pretty cool. It's pretty over the top, but not as much as I expected. Definitely not as much as in GI Joe Rise of Cobra. And granted, GI Joe Retaliation is meant to be kind of a reboot. So they're trying to go a different direction to appeal to a much broader audience. So I guess I kind of understood why they went the direction they did. But like I said, I liked the over the top. I liked the direction they were going with Rise of Cobra. That being said, the change of direction that they took, a complete change of direction, kind of made me mad with a lot of things. First of all, the characters. As anyone who knows anything about the movie knows, they got rid of almost every single one of the characters. They keep chaining Tatum for only about 20 minutes. Um, Other than that, the only actors that cross over are the two ninjas. You see them in the trailer, so that's not a big shocker, and the president, who you also see in the trailer. Um, and I guess the person who is playing the president, Zartan, he's there too, but he doesn't get any speaking lines. You just see his face twice or three times, something like that. So those are the only characters that they really brought through, at least actors that they brought through. And I thought that was a huge mistake. I thought Channing Tatum was great for the story. I didn't mind the Wayans brother. He wasn't the best, but I didn't mind him. I thought he was good comic relief at least. Um, and that's I thought the other characters were pretty good. I liked the brainy science guy. I liked the big burly. I think it was Heavy Duty, the big burly black guy. I liked him. I liked all those characters. So I don't know why they got rid of them. Because the characters they brought on were terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. For example, the hot shot guy. I can't remember his name. It was like Flint, I think it was. He was, yeah, there was no character development. There was no build up. And the female leads, there was Jinx and Lady J, and those are the only two. Jinx and Lady J. I didn't care about them. They weren't that good looking. Not that I really care that much about that kind of thing. But they're not really that good looking, and they weren't interesting. They had no backstory. The little backstory that they did give us, you learn pretty early that Lady J's father used to be in the army, and then you learn that Jinx is actually not Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow's cousin. But that's really it. You don't get any backstory, and that's actually something I really liked from the first one. I liked the flashbacks because you really got to know the characters and feel for the characters, what they're going through. The Baroness, Duke, even Cobra Commander. You really get into Cobra Commander's backstory in the first one, but in this one, it just seemed so disconnected from what was going on. That being said, there was one person I liked. I did like Dwayne Johnson's character, Roadblock. He did a good job. He wasn't great. He wasn't the best, but I felt he did a very good job in his role, with his direction, with the movie that he was given. Some of the bad guys that brought on, what was the one guy with the explosions? I can't remember. Firefly, I think it was. He was pretty neat. I liked him. But that was really it. That was all the characters. And I didn't care about any of them because they weren't in the first movie. Like I said, it's supposed to be kind of a reboot to the franchise because the first one didn't go as well as they expected. So I understand what they were doing, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the direction they went. Okay, so next, we gotta talk about Destro. This is gonna be a little bit of a spoiler, but it's pretty well known because even if you look at IMDb, Destro's not in the movie at all. That being said, although he's not in the movie, technically he is kind of in the movie. And I'm gonna go and tell you exactly the scene, what happens, because I was so upset by it. Like I said, didn't watch G.I. Joe. Played with the action figures, and I also liked the first one. But other than that, I know nothing about G.I. Joe. But I do know Destro is Cobra Commander's right-hand man. Destro is like, if it wasn't for Destro, Cobra Commander couldn't pull off what he was doing. Anyways, so what happens in the movie is the bad guys break Cobra Commander out of jail. And once they do that, Cobra Commander looks over to Destro in his cell and says, "You're out of the band." And that's it. There's no mention of Destro. He doesn't talk at all. There's no anything, And I liked Destro's character in the first one. Eccleston, whatever his name was. I think it was Michael. I don't know, whatever. The character, the Irish guy, I liked his character. I thought he was a good character. I thought they really could have built up Destro and done a good job with him. And what's funny is I thought maybe they did it to develop Cobra Commander more, but he has like maybe 5-10 minutes of screen time. So Cobra Commander's not even in there that much. The main bad guy, the guy you see, the guy that really does most of the acting is the president, which is Zartan, the bad guy, But other than that, there's nothing that he does. So the fact that they took out Destro didn't make any sense to me. I did not understand why they did that. That being said, though, the actor who played the president, I should have these names listed up on my computer screen so I can tell you who they are and everything. But the president in this movie, awesome job, because the president is still alive, and then Zartan playing the president is often, in the same room and they're acting together, even though it's the same actor. And what's nice about it is the actor who portrays the president does a great job giving the duality of the role of being the president and then being Zartan. Excellent job. I thought by far he was the best part of the movie. Just hearing him talk at the end, Zartan as the president gives a very intelligent speech, and he motivates. I don't want to give anything away, but he motivates in a very interesting way, and I thought the acting was impeccable. He was definitely the best part of the movie. Was the president, or Zartan as the president. The ninjas, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, they did well. Snake Eyes, of course, doesn't speak, so you never really hear him talk, but Storm Shadow did well. I didn't like the direction they took with Storm Shadow, though, to tell you the truth. They go a different direction than one would expect, or even that his character. So what his character does is nothing like it does in the movie. If that makes sense. Like his character is a certain way, and then suddenly in the movie it suddenly goes this other direction that makes to me absolutely no sense. But whatever, it's what happened in the movie, and they just, I'm sure in the next movie they're actually planning on doing something with that, probably. Who knows? So, I didn't like the direction it took with Storm Shadow. I thought his character, he would have done something else than what he did do. Okay, so the mountain scene, the one they show on all the commercials, the flying through the air on the ropes, and the, awesome scene, great scene, best scene in the movie by far. Anything else, and that's the over the top action I was talking about. That is what was cool about the first one, is just those fight scenes and those explosions and all that kind of stuff. Even though if they were trying to rip off Transformers, even though if they're trying to just do everything just to be like Transformers, I don't care about that. I liked it. I thought the over-the-top action was exactly what it needed, and that's what the mountain scene did. The mountain scene, it was over the top. It was, it's unbelievable. But the ninjas fighting on a mountain, that's just awesome. So good for that, So mountain scene, the president, they were neat, they were good. Dwayne Johnson was okay. Everything else I could have thrown away. I wouldn't have cared. That being said, my final problem with the movie was the final, not scene, but the climax of the movie was so anticlimactic, and it didn't make sense. Like I said, I don't want to give any spoilers away. That's not the point of these kind of reviews. The retro reviews, I'll give away spoilers, but not on these. It doesn't make sense. Dwayne Johnson does something to what Cobra has, and the action that follows because of the single thing that Dwayne Johnson doesn't make sense. It wouldn't have existed. It wouldn't have happened like that. It's really hard to not give a spoiler about this because it made me so upset. It was at the end of the movie, so I didn't turn it off right there, but that was the point in the movie when I just decided this is it's a stinker. It wasn't a good movie. They really just didn't care. They did that for the explosion, but even the explosion wasn't even that great. And completely disappointed. Cobra. I'm excited to see what they do in the future. Because I think if they see this is the problem. I think Rise of Cobra, it went one direction. Over the top. Developing characters. I thought that was great, by the way. All this kind of stuff because I cared about those characters. And but I think the over-the-top action is what drew people away. And then the new one, basically what it did was it focused on the plot, which is good, but I didn't care about the characters, so the plot didn't matter to me. I didn't care about, mainly it was the characters. That's really what it was. The characters, because I didn't care about them. I didn't care what happened, So I think if in the next one, if they try and go someplace in the middle, try to develop more characters and while still keeping some action and keeping good plot development. That's one thing that the first one didn't have. Had a lot of background, but not a lot of plot in it. It was a very simple plot, but this one was much more complex. But the characters, nothing. Anyways, so I don't know what to give. If basically how it's been. If you like Rise of Cobra, you don't like Retaliation in my mind. If you didn't like Rise of Cobra, you probably like Retaliation a bit more. I would give Retaliation probably about a C, maybe a C plus, but someone like you might give it a B plus. It's up to you. It's not a bad movie. But comparing it to the first one, and I like the first one. I didn't get into it. So, anyways, I hope to do all of my new reviews kind of like this format. It's very laid back. not kind of not cutting away to different scenes, just straight reviews like this. So yeah, I this is the Unpopped review, movie reviews by a movie lover and not a movie critic. I'll see you guys later.
Yo, Joe! He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe is there. It's G.I. Joe against Cobra and Destro, fighting to save the day. He never gives up. He's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe is there.
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force. Its purpose, to defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world.
He never gives up. He'll stay till the fight's won. G.I. Joe will dare. G.I. Joe!